Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today we've got another Lisa episode to review, but I would be lost if it weren't for your co-host with the most. Joining us as always, it's Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
It's been a long journey, Miles. We've been up, we've been down, we've been all around, but we are finally back on the path. The path of Simpsons? Is that what we're doing here? The Simpsons?
I'll review The Simpsons with you if you prefer.
Okay. We're finally back on track in order with our episodes, and it took all the way until season 9, episode 24, but we are here, and we will now do 24 and 25 in order. It's a magical time.
What's weird is, I do all, the editing and uploading and all that good stuff, but somehow I feel like this out-of-order recording has been taking a harder toll on you than it has me this season.
You can't talk about that yet. I haven't thrown it back to you. We're already out of sync again. Oh, no! Let me throw it back to you, the man, the myth, the terror sweats himself. It is Miles.
You sound like you're both, have some sort of secret or might be trying to seduce me with your voice today. I'm not certain which angle you're going for.
Hello.
So we are talking about the episode Lost Our Lisa today, which originally aired on May 10th, 1998. I always find it kind of fun or just interesting when we kind of get synced up, so to speak, with The Simpsons as we're recording, because today is May 13th, so just 3 days and 22 years off from when this episode originally aired.
So close.
So close. This one does have a chalkboard gag. I am not the new Dalai Lama. And it has a repeat couch gag, but one that I very much enjoy, where we see Nelson pulls the couch out from under the Simpsons as they sit down and delivers his classic, ha-ha.
Indeed. It's always fun when Nelson's in the house, literally.
It's kind of strange, actually, because that means that he broke and or entered without breaking, but definitely entered illegally into the Simpsons' home when nobody of the Simpsons were there. I don't know.
Maybe Marge said you could stop by any time, and so he took it upon himself to stop by.
Yeah. That's fair. All right, I'll give you that one. I will say this one also does have a commentary track that I was able to listen to, featuring commentary by Yardley Smith, a voice that I don't hear too often, but it was animation director Pete Michaels. George Myers, David Cohen, Mike Scully, and Matt Groening were all there as well.
A loaded up room.
Yeah, it very much was. And they actually did have some interesting stuff to talk about, and I will point those out as we go along. But right off the bat from IMDb, the Lost Our Lisa title is actually based on a very common sign at the time, which was Lost Our Lease. Which would be basically equivalent to a going out of business sort of sign.
Okay. I guess I could tie that into the museum closing. Sure, okay, let's go.
We open up with the episode where we actually follow Bart and Milhouse through a beautiful weekday in Springfield, and Milhouse even kind of points out that it's just different walking through the street on a weekday versus the weekend.
It's a teacher's conference day, so if you remember those, that means you don't have to go to school so that they can all meet up and plan their semester or whatever.
Hey Bart, what's your favorite thing about teacher's conference day?
I guess that we don't have to go to school.
Whoa, mine too! What else would it be? That's the great joke there. They actually pass by a very well-dressed and clearly sober Barney, as he says, "Morning, boys. Can't stop to chat. Time is money." Not sure what that means.
But he, as soon as it follows him, he's going into Moe's.
Right, yeah, that's why I have no idea what that means, other than maybe time is money that he hasn't spent yet, because he, walks immediately into Moe's at, 9 in the morning. I love, there's a super quick joke, but in the background, you can actually hear Homer cry out, "Hiya, Barn!"
I don't understand that, because it's a weekday, so he's supposed to be at work.
I think the joke is he clearly stops in to have a beer before work.
Yep.
I mean, that's what breakfast stouts are for, right?
Oh my gosh. Ugh.
Bart decides that a teacher in service day would not be complete without a visit to the Springfield joke shop, which right off the bat, Milhouse rings the buzzer and gets squirted with water, to which Bart is like, what a noob.
And then walks through a fake door.
It punches him in the stomach with like a
that's right.
boxing glove or whatever. But yeah.
I was trying to figure out what this note was because I wrote Harry Potter, Simpsons did it, and that's all I wrote. And I think I was just remembering the joke shop and Harry Potter. I don't know why I tried to make that connection. Yeah. So there you go. Thank you, Miles.
Or Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
That one, yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, they enter the joke shop. I guess they find their way in, and immediately Milhouse is very interested in the X-ray specs, which he's immediately puts on and is convinced that they don't work. But the clerk assures them it's a lead shirt.
I'll take 3 pairs. Here's my prescription.
This joke is actually based on a real-life fascination that David Cohen had with the X-ray specs that were advertised in the backs of comic books as he was a kid, but he was very, very disappointed when he ordered his first pair, and basically the whole thing with those is they put, like, strings or, like, some sort of hair over the little hole in the eye, and it causes light to refract, which is not the same as X-ray, believe it or not. I know. How dare they false advertise in the back of a comic book?
But how dare they replenish a fire extinguisher? I can't talk today with snakes instead of water,
necessary
too.
For a podcast, you're fine.
Yeah, not at all.
And actually it's marked like actual fire extinguisher, and it shoots out like the foam snakes or whatever. I also like that there's itching powder, something else powder, and impotence powder, which shows an embarrassed man who clearly can't get an erection.
Miles, maybe you can help me, but I don't think my face is as hilarious as it could be.
Need something that maybe is a little more colorful, like a beak or some screws in the neck, huge goofy teeth, and why the hell not? Let's put a faucet smack dab in the middle of Bart's forehead.
Well, watch me walk outside with it all fell off.
Yeah, he's having a little bit of problems, like, getting these novelty items that he just purchased to stick. But Milhouse has a suggestion. If you just put a little bit of dog dew on the suction cups, then I lost my script right there as I started to talk. Also struggling today. But they'll actually stick better.
Milhouse, I'm not going to take dog dew that's been on the dirty ground and put it on my face.
That dirty, filthy ground will get all over that dog dew.
I've got a better idea.
So they go and visit Homer at the Springfield nuclear power plant, where Homer is, of course, taking his daily nap, only to be interrupted and woken up by Bart, who's looking for a way to make these novelty items stick better.
Hey, Dad, wake up!
Huh? I'm awake. I'm a productive member of this team. You can't fire me. I quit. Please, I have a family.
Relax, Dad. It's just me.
So Bart asks for some glue, and Homer knows just where to go. He digs into his drawer, where we see a few items of interest. One of which, according to the commentary, is the same gun that we saw featured in the Cartridge family, which would be round 3 of lying if you're keeping track between Homer lying to Marge lying to Homer about the gun, and now Homer is essentially, I guess, re-lying to Marge? Not re-lying, but lying again.
I'm not gonna go down that route because Marge was the last one that had it, so I think this is a joint effort here.
Or Homer just found it and
No, I think they're both aware of what's going on now. I think Marge sunk into that deep hole with Homer by the end of the episode, so they're on the same page here.
Okay, I'll sure. That's as good of an explanation.
Homer, take this to work and glue it to your desk with the industrial glue so we can't use it ever again.
So this whole time, while Bart and Milhouse have been adventuring around town, Lisa was actually at home getting very excited because it's the last day of the Egyptian artifacts exhibit, and her mom has promised that she's going to take her. She just has to put some film in the camera, which is a very archaic thing to see on TV nowadays.
Yeah, but then she can get a picture of her mommy with a mummy.
That's the type of joke that you would like, Richie.
Yes.
So I do like, as Marge is changing the film and the camera, she actually takes out the old roll, I guess partially used, and she's like, well, goodbye, Carlsbad Caverns, because if you took film out of the roll, it exposed it, essentially, and therefore your pictures when it come out is the reason that existed. But she was putting in a fresh roll of film, all for Lisa to take all those mommy pictures.
And it's going to go off without a hitch. As we know in the Simpsons world, nothing exciting ever happens.
Well, and definitely Bart never ruins anything for Lisa. Except for this visit to the museum, it turns out. Because Bart, at that moment, as they're leaving, actually comes in with all these novelty items on, and Marge is immediately telling him to take them off, only to find that they are very, very stuck. And it's quickly revealed that Bart superglued these items to his face, and on the backside of the superglue bottle, it just says, if ingested, contact a mortician.
Mom, I didn't eat any of it. I'm not stupid.
Marge, admittedly sort of freaks out here and has to cancel her plans with Lisa so she can take Bart to the hospital. Lisa is fine with that, actually, as long as she can take the bus to the exhibit, but as an 8-year-old, Marge puts her foot down. A bus? Alone? Absolutely not! It's too dangerous for an 8-year-old. In a few years, when you're old enough to drive, then you can take a bus.
I don't know why, I just really, really enjoyed that line.
Yeah, it's when you're old enough to drive. Yeah, that's fantastic. So Lisa is, of course, kind of upset about this, and she does something that's a little out of character, more of a Bart move, really, if you think about it, but she decides she's going to play her folks against each other, and she calls her father at work.
Hello?
Dad?
Who is this?
It's Lisa! I just called to tell you how much I love you, and can I take the bus to the museum?
Museum? I don't like the sound of that. What did your mother say?
And this is where she kind of goes out of character just a little bit, because she says, I wasn't 100% clear on that. She said something, but she was kind of in a rush to get Bart to the emergency room.
So you want to take the bus, huh? I don't know. It's a pretty big decision. And I'm definitely not going to say anything about how Bart's going to the emergency room.
He just glosses over the fact that there's an emergency room visit happening. I guess it's probably a fairly common occurrence in this household at this point.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Well, if it'd put your mind at ease, Dad, I could take a limousine, but that would cost $200.
$200? Oh, isn't there any other way?
Well, I guess I could take the bus if you think that's a better idea.
Frankly, I do. I know you had your heart set on the limo, but sometimes daddies have to say no, honey. I'm afraid you're going to have to take the bus.
All right.
Atta girl. I love you
and
so.
She hangs up in mid-call and is very excited. And to be fair, this 8-year-old girl just played her parents like a fiddle.
Homer's had a couple real bad parenting moments here in the first few minutes. Gave his son industrial super glue and let his 8-year-old take the bus by herself. Not a good few minutes for Homer.
Yeah, it's not off to the greatest start, but to be fair, if any 8-year-old was going to be able to traverse the public transportation system, I would put my faith in Lisa.
As Homer will say later on.
Mm-hmm. We do see Lisa actually approaches the bus stop for the old number 22, and we actually have a whole lineup of people, including Mo, who's right there. We see an image of Lionel Hutz, which according to both IMDb and the commentary for this episode, this is actually the last appearance of Lionel Hutz before Phil Hartman, his voice actor, tragically passes away in between seasons 9 and 10. Now, Lionel Hutz does not have a speaking role in this episode, but his character is very clearly drawn at the bus stop. As is, if you know to look for him, the animator Joe West, who did work on this episode as well.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it when they draw themselves or various members of their staff into episodes as little Easter eggs.
Well, when you add characters like Lionel Hutz, just even in the background, I feel like it kind of changes the dynamic of the scene. Like, if it's just Mo and a couple of the old geezers waiting at the bus stop, you're like, oh, okay. But when you add Lionel Hutz, for some reason, it just makes it feel like like a worse group of people, if that makes sense.
No, I kind of feel you on that. It kind of shows that like the dichotomy, or not even like the spread or the spectrum of people that ride the bus. It's not just like a certain type.
I guess, yeah. I'm also saying that like Lionel Hutz is always up to no good, and
Mo
he's
is
like
always up to no good.
He's trying to scam his way through something that he's going to fail
guy,
miserably
even
at.
arguably, who we see in a little bit, is always trying to kind of like take advantage of a price with somebody at the comic shop. I'm stretching, I admit it, but like I'm trying to ride with you on this one.
The people know what I'm talking about. The Mo people.
Mo is even surprised though that Lisa's getting on the bus by herself, a kid. And he decides instead he's going to hail a taxi cab.
Taxi, VD Clinic.
When Lisa gets on the bus, she's looking for a seat and immediately runs into Agnes Skinner. May I sit there?
Of course not, honey. That seat's for my coin purse.
And she actually sets her bag down, forcing Lisa to have to go elsewhere. She approaches comic book guy, who also who is willing to let her sit if he can answer. I'm sorry, if she can answer me 3 questions. Question the first.
Never mind.
And she's like, I don't want to deal with you. And he's also wearing like a Dungeon Master t-shirt and a like Valkyrie or Viking style helmet.
Something like that, yeah.
I got Viking King vibes, like victory.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We cut from Lisa's journey to Bart's hospital stay, where it would seem that he is not the only kid who visited the prank shop that day, because there's a mom and another boy who basically has the exact same arrangement of, like, novelty items glued to his face, we think. But when Marge comments, like, oh, did your son visit the toy store too? The other mom has a correction.
Oh, we were caught in a plumbing explosion.
Which would make sense with the pipe coming out of the forehead. I don't know about the
worse.
What?
The scene gets worse after that. Like, it's such a dark thing that
Marge points out, like,
ooh,
that's the kind of faucet I want for your bathroom.
Yeah. It's so screwed up.
That comes from the Mortality collection at Home Depot.
The Marge Mortality collection.
So we cut there from Lisa back to the bus, where she's having a little bit of trouble. She's complaining. She's like, oh my god, I can't believe I confused bus 22 with bus 22A. And she's like walking out in the middle of absolute nowhere when she stumbles upon a guard like standing outside of a gated fenced like facility, and it says Area 51.
Man, the script also just kind of glossed over all the like fun little stuff with Larry, the driver of the bus, where like he's tapping the sign. Like,
don't make me tap the sign.
Yeah, and then like even at the end, she's like, "Where am I?" He's like,
I like this week as we record this, I shared a meme. I'm not gonna talk about it because it's political or whatever, but I shared a meme that basically stole from this scene right here. It has the bus driver like pointing at the sign. It's like, don't make me tap the sign again. And again, just like weird like lining up stuff, like synchronicity, as our buddy Toby Von Doom would say. Like those types of things line up.
Yeah, that's really funny how real life does that all the time.
It's like your thing when you're drunk at a bar and you think the commercials are lined up with the music.
They absolutely are. And you can be sober and it still works. It's a great way to pass time when you're bored. But we also missed the sign in the emergency room, I believe. It said, quality care, your autopsy is free.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
So Lisa's very excited that in her mistake, though, she found Area 51, but she's very quickly corrected by the guard as he steps to the side, revealing the sign that says Area 51A. But she still can't be told where she is because the guard, like, she's trying to ask the guard for help, and he's like, I can't tell you where you are. It's confidential information.
Stupid bus can't even go to the stupid place it's supposed to stupid go.
But she sees another source of possible salvation when she runs into old Cletus out in the middle of nowhere and is actually able to get him to agree to give her a ride. It's just that she will have to ride in the back with a pile of dead animals. And you gotta watch out for the skunks, because sometimes they go off even after they're dead.
And never mind Brandine yelling from the front, Miles. You just go back to birthing that baby.
You've done it enough times, it should be a piece of cake by now. Another fun fact from the IMDb page of this episode, apparently the pile of dead animals in the back of Cletus's truck actually originally included dead puppies, but the animators just found it to be way too sad, so they replaced them with more real, like, just wild animal roadkill.
I had an issue with Lisa's voice when she runs away from Cletus, because in the streaming service I was using to watch this, I watched it twice to make sure, but when she runs away, it's a baby crying. Like Lisa's voice. So I don't know if it's just the program I used to watch the episode. I don't know if you had that issue on Disney Plus or if you were using it on your DVDs. I watched it on the DVD,
so I did not have that issue, but I also could have just been not like paying attention closely enough to the sound to notice.
It sounded like a baby crying, so I was like, what was that? And I listened to it again, and I was like, yep, that's the sound of a baby crying real quick.
Was it possibly, was that to imply that Brandine just had her baby?
Maybe, but it was like Lisa running away in fear of that, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, now I want to watch it again as well. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. For now, though, Lisa definitely, what is very clear, regardless if it's the baby from the cab, Brandine's new baby, or Lisa, we don't know, but we do know that she is not going to ride in the back of that truck with a pile of dead animals. So we cut back to see how Bart is doing with Dr. Hibbert, and he is able to help for $75. Or no, I'm sorry, it's his joke is, oh yes, I can help. If I had $75 for every novelty item I removed... Oh, by the way, I'll need a check for $75.
And I like when he's like, there's nothing funny about novelties. I mean, they're humorous and all, but this is certainly no laughing matter.
He can't contain himself. But he does have a answer. He brings out what looks like a shot machine. Like, not like the fun, like, take drinking kind, but like if you were getting, like, vaccinations. It was like looks like a mini gun, but like with tons of needles coming out of it.
Yeah.
And basically,
painful injection to the spine.
Yeah, just a little bit of painful injections. But it turns out this was all a ruse because as Bart gets nervous, he starts to sweat, and this causes all of those novelty items to just dissolve and fall off themselves.
What happened? You didn't do anything.
Oh, didn't I? Nothing dissolves glue better than human sweat. I knew Bart would panic and start perspiring at the sight of this button applicator. And he actually starts sewing a few buttons on Bart's shirt.
Couldn't you just turn the heat up a little?
Oh, heavens no. It had to be terror sweat. It's something in the fear, man. Something in the fear.
Oh, yeah. Feed the fear.
We cut over to the Springfield power plant where Carl, Lenny, and Homer are sitting at lunch, and Carl is actually wearing a pyramid hat.
So, ain't you guys gonna ask me about my hat?
Oh, hey, Carl, what's with the hat?
Oh, what, this thing? I got it down at the museum. It's what the ancient Egyptians call a souvenir.
And that's when Homer chimes in that he's like, oh, Lisa's at that place right now. She took the bus.
You sent your little girl downtown on a bus?
Alone?
Maybe. But you don't know Lisa. I mean, she's so smart, they hooked her up to a big computer to try to teach her some things, but she had so much knowledge, it overloaded, then it got really hot and caught on fire.
That never happened. Did it, Homer?
Yes, but now I have to leave on a totally unrelated matter.
And he runs out the door crying, oh, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa!
Oh, Lisa finds herself in a part of Springfield she's never been before. She even is like, wow, I didn't know Springfield had a Russian district. She approaches two men who are playing chess to ask for some help.
Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the museum? My pleasure. It's 6 blocks that way.
It's like this guy's yelling so angrily in Russian, but the subtitles are just the most polite thing possible. And they continue. The two men, like, as Lisa runs away, clearly in fear, the two men, like, keep shouting at each other. And yeah, he's like, hey, she went the wrong way.
Checkmate.
The other man actually, like, jumps up screaming and even throws the board to the ground. But the subtitles are like, good game. How about another?
Oh, the poor Russians.
Lisa is very clearly lost, and she's being, like, approached by street vendors and all sorts of people that are just kind of freaking around.
Krabkalash guy back.
Yeah, another callback to the New York episode. I guess he's moved to Springfield himself.
Yeah, I guess so.
She actually calls Homer's office. You have reached the office of Homer Simpson. If you are calling about the waterbed, please leave a detailed message. If you need...
Get back to work. Quick.
Once again, another person, they're just described as strange locals, scare Lisa away.
But at least Homer's finally doing some parenting now.
He's actually running around town looking for his daughter. He's in the vicinity of the museum trying to find her. And he actually runs into, like, possibly the last person that he would want to run into, though, because he's screaming, for God's sake, my little girl, right as Marge and Bart drive by and roll down the window.
Ah! Hello!
Homer, what's going on? Shouldn't you be at work?
I am at work. This is what I do. Get moving, Marge. This isn't a parking lot.
Sorry. She takes him so seriously. And I'm going to say, I think this next bit might be the best of these jokes so far. Like, the best of the Mr. Burns not recognizing Homer situation, because they set it up so well. It's the same concept. Homer is once again turns around to find Mr. Burns rolling his window down this time.
Shouldn't you be at work right now?
Yes, sir, Mr. Burns, sir.
Well then, get back to whatever it is you work, whoever you are.
I don't know why that cracks me up so much, but just, like, the way they said it, like, they do it all the time, but this one had just enough of a, like, misdirect that I thought was really funny.
I actually really like the Marge one, just because she totally buys into it and goes along with it. Sorry.
Very Marge, yeah. Homer actually approaches a woman that turns out to be Chief Wiggum dressed in drag, who is actually in the middle of a stakeout, but in the moment that he turned to tell Homer this, Snake runs by and steals Wiggum's purse.
Oh no! All right.
And Wiggum is like talks like in his like female voice, is like, "Oh, somebody stop that awful, awful man!" Homer has a revelation when he realizes that if he could get some higher ground, it might give him a vantage point that would help him find his daughter faster. So he comes up with an idea. He goes and buys all of the balloons he can from a balloon vendor, and then he has like a moment where he's like, oh, I hope this works. Excuse me, if I hand you all these balloons, would you let me use your cherry picker?
Well, I've already got some balloons, but they're not this nice. Deal.
I love that's a great misdirect joke again, right back to back. But
Yeah.
You think Homer is like wanting to float up into the sky with his balloons, but he's just trying to bribe the construction worker to let him use his cherry picker.
He's clearly dealt with construction workers before too, so.
He is able to rise up, and unfortunately, I guess his weight with the raised up fulcrum or whatever, like, it causes the truck to roll off of the blocks that were stopping.
Well, he sees Lisa first.
He does. Him and Lisa come in contact first, but then he very quickly starts rolling towards the, I think, ocean.
Yeah,
Definitely
I think
some water.
He's moving around too much up there.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so Homer actually goes all the way into... is it a river? I think it might be a river, because it goes through a drawbridge.
Well, there's docks there.
It's a body of water that Homer is, like, barely staying afloat because of his height on the cherry picker. No idea how the car continues to drive once it actually hits the water.
I think it's just flowing in the water right there.
Sure.
That's what we'll go with.
Physics,
It's not
yeah,
that heavy.
yeah, definitely scientifically accurate. I'm
Yeah.
positive. Lisa actually has a really good idea, though. She actually sees a drawbridge up ahead and goes to the control operator to try to get him to lower it down. Unfortunately, the timing isn't quite right, or maybe it's just too perfect, because the drawbridge actually closes down, and as the cherry picker flows underneath the bridge with Homer, it comes out the other side without him, and it reveals that Homer was actually caught by the cranium, and is now stuck with the top of his skull just sticking out of the roadway, which unfortunately is then ran over by a car.
I really like the animation where she's like, Dad, try to grab on, and like the point of view from Homer as the bridge is closing with the worried look on his face. He never raises his hands. But I just really like that quick little animation.
He just rises really cool. Up. Yeah, that's funny. I like this conversation on the way home, too. Lisa asks, are you sure you don't want to go to the doctor? I mean, a drawbridge did close on your head.
No, I'll just walk it off. Because remember, Lisa, Best Darn Diddly Review Show has proven numerous times that I am, in fact, unbreakable.
You gotta put this one as another tally in that box.
It's in the script. I had to read it, so.
Whoa. Wait, you're telling me that The Simpsons predicted our podcast in 1998? They really do predict everything.
Uh-huh.
Lisa is upset, though, and she tells her father, I'll never take another stupid risk like that again. Slam! The car comes to a stop.
Don't ever say that.
What?
If I hadn't have taken a stupid risk with that cherry picker, I would have never found you.
I guess.
Stupid risks are what make life worth living.
And I have to say, I've never felt more in tune with Homer than I have in this episode. From basically this entire remainder of the third act, I almost entirely agree with what Homer has to say, but we'll get into it.
And while the two of you were agreeing, he didn't put his car in park, so the car started falling back down the hill towards the water again.
But he totally saves it, and it's fine. Lisa screams out, though, it's funny, and Homer's like, feel your heart pumping a mile a minute? That's what my heart's doing all the time. I bet your left arm's tingling, too. This is why I smoke so much weed, because if I made decisions like this while not high, like, my heart would explode. Like, it's the only thing that keeps me calm.
Yeah, but Lisa still wants to go to the exhibit, Miles, but it's closed, so there's nothing they can do.
Well, there is something they can do, actually. Are you feeling stupid, Lise? I know I am. So we actually cut away. We don't know what they're going to do just yet. We know they're heading towards the museum, but we cut back to Marge, Bart, and Maggie, who are now getting home. And Marge actually tells Bart that she should go and apologize to his sister because he made her miss the exhibit. So Bart kind of drags his heels, but he does in fact go and knock on Lisa's door.
Hey, Lise. I'm sorry I ruined your Egyptian thing. We're still buds, right? Okay, be that way.
Response, yeah.
Big stupid jerk. Oh, you're not the jerk. I am. Forgive me? Oh, like you're Miss Perfect. Mom, Lisa's making me feel bad.
Stop it, Lisa!
That shut her up. This is like 2 weeks in a row where Bart has played Marge against Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, 2 recording weeks in a row for us. I don't remember this the last episode.
That was, I think, during Girly Edition with our friend Jamie Zeski. Yeah,
that's right.
I think. Again, we're way out of order.
But Bart knows how to play Marge against Lisa pretty good this season.
Yeah, it is interesting how he's got her wrapped a little bit around his finger in some ways.
Mommy's little angel.
Mm-hmm. We see back at the museum that Homer and Lisa are actually climbing up a sculpture on the outside, going up to like the top story window. And when they get there, Homer actually has to ask Lisa to open the window because the police have Daddy's prints on file.
Well, I like before they jump too, she's like, Dad, I'm scared. Good. Use the adrenaline to make the jump.
Yes. That's the issue. People fall because they don't commit, man. I'm with Homer on that, 100%.
I actually really enjoy this scene too. Like when they
I love this whole ending, dude.
Yeah.
I like this episode across the board, but I will say I think the ending of this episode is like head and shoulders above, like in terms of how much I enjoy the sequence with Homer and Lisa when they're in the museum. It's like a really beautiful bonding moment that's also really funny.
Yeah. Well put, sir. Well put.
So they open the window, they make it inside, and Lisa, like, couldn't be, happier. She's getting to see all of these artifacts that nobody else, or I guess everybody else in Springfield already got to see, but she thought she wasn't gonna be one of them, and now she is. Oh my gosh! It's the mysterious orb of Isis! Archaeologists have been studying it for decades and still have no clue what it means.
Well, Daddy will figure it out.
Homer starts to reach out, but Lisa's like, we can't touch it, Dad. It's behind a velvet rope. Velvet rope.
He's going to go for it regardless.
And he actually ends up knocking down the velvet ropes, which, to be fair...
Doesn't he say, like, we've already gone this far, we have to keep going further. What do we do if we don't go further? He makes a comment like that.
Right. And he actually ends up, like, it's the thing where it's like the posts that have the ropes in between it. Stanchions, I think is what they're called. Anyway, it's like domino effects, and it actually knocks the orbs onto the ground, which actually causes it to open up and reveal that it's an ancient music box. Dad, we uncovered the secret.
Oh, so now it's we, eh?
So we're so ready to cut his daughter out of the find. It's so beautiful, and just think, we're the first people to hear its song in more than 4,000 years. Thanks for making us take such a stupid risk, Dad.
Anytime, honey. Just remember, never be afraid to live life on the edge. Now let's get home before your mother kills us.
That's another great line. I do have another fact from IMDb I want to talk about real quick, because as Lisa's talking about the Egyptian artifacts in the museum, it's actually a reference to Professor Dudley Winthrop, who discovered the Temple of Isis by falling through its ceiling, and that's actually very similar to a real-life incident that happened to Howard Carter, who is a very famous Egyptologist. And he actually discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun. It's King Tut. I can't say his name.
Tutankhamun?
There you go. Thank you. The tomb of he found the tomb of King Tut, while riding his horse through the Egyptian desert, and his horse and him literally fell through the sand into a man-made chamber. Now, that actually was not nearly as bountiful as a find as the one that Lisa's talking about, but it's still very, very similar and probably a reference because David Cohen was on staff at this time.
If I fell through something like that, that would scare the crap out of me.
It'd be awesome, though. I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure it would not be fun in the moment when, like, the earth was falling beneath you, but, like, whenever you came to and was like, oh, crap, I'm seeing something that people haven't seen in thousands of years. This is pretty cool.
Hey, it's King Tut. I recognize him. That's not how it went.
So Lisa declares, this is kind of humbling, isn't it? The music we just heard might never be heard again.
Yeah, but it'll always live on because we'll never forget it.
And then Homer starts whistling. Dad, that's the Old Spice song.
It is? Well, that's a good song, too.
And they keep whistling Old Spice tune as they leave the exhibit, though as they're walking away, an alarm trips and Homer yells, "Run!" And that brings us to the end of the episode. Lost our Lisa. Richie, is there anything else that you or that book of yours want to talk about?
Just that, like you said, it's a very, very sweet ending. There's always something about the Homer and Lisa moments that they just always nail the ending of those episodes, like every time. But this one stands out to me a lot more than the other ones do, just because I think it's so cool that like everything in the episode comes to fruition at the end, where it's all about stupid risks. But because of the stupid risks, they get this really, really sweet moment that nobody else will ever see again, unless they knock it over.
Yeah, unless they also are careless.
Yes, exactly.
Do it the Homer way. That's cool. I have one other thing to say from the commentary of this episode, and that is the writer of this episode was actually Brian Scully, Mike Scully's brother. Mike and Brian actually grew up in West Springfield, Massachusetts, which was nearby to the town of Springfield, Massachusetts. which was a much larger town that offered a lot more things to go and do. But unfortunately, unless you could drive, the only way to get there was by bus. And this episode was actually kind of, it came through the idea, essentially, of one day Brian actually did get permission from his parents to take the bus over to Springfield, and during the journey, he essentially kept thinking of all of the things that could have possibly gone wrong. And that memory inspired, or whenever this episode came about, it helped him put together the script for this episode.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah. But that is going to do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly. Make sure you follow Richie at @thewiz_kid23. He is on Twitter and other places probably.
And Miles is on everything at Mr. Most Days Off, but he's also taking care of at Best Darn Diddly, the most important of the trio, the triumvirate. That is at Best Darn Diddly again, Diddly.
Hey, I just for fun realized recently, if you Google just the word diddly, spelled like we spell it, and podcast, we are now the first hit on Google. So, thank you so much to all of our listeners and everyone who downloads or shares or contributes on Patreon. All of you great people, we love you so much and appreciate you coming back with us each and every week. We are going to be wrapping up the season. Well, we still have our spectacular coming up, of course. But
spectacular!
We will be back with you for the season finale of season 9 with our review of Natural Born Kissers.
And remember, we're at Best Darn Diddly. Oh, wait, no, we're a secret podcast if we do that. We are at Best Darn Diddly-A.
Our location can't be found. And of course, until next time, be cromulent to each other.